Drive-through weddings.
Yeah,
I'm like, we'll get a little chapel.
Hi guys, welcome back.
I've been in and out.
We got off about we started talking about gay marriage and all this stuff, and went straight to Bill's topic. So we're going to pull back, and we're going to talk to Travis here. What was your topic again? You told me in the dressing room, and went right over my head.
Well, it's actually putting a little bit of a psychological context within, a lot of the arguments that we've heard, I think, on your show, and, in the gay community at large. There's a lot of animosity between, let's say, like, the femmes and the in-the-closet gays and the butch gays and the straight-acting gays. And, it really just goes to show that there's a lot of, dissonance within our own community between each other. And, until we understand ourselves as a minority group and know how to progress our awareness as a minority group and a healthy awareness of that, I don't think that we're really going to achieve the type of strides that we want to achieve, like marriage or the third kind of marriage or whatever it might be with the community at large, because we're not respected as that minority group. And one of the things that typifies the development of a gay person is coming out. And in kind of a minority awareness view, that would be like the conformity stage. And then you have, maybe, somebody who adopts the gay culture and says, this is my culture. I shun the outside culture. That's resistance and immersion. And then people have a little introspection, and they're like, okay, well, maybe, I need to get out of the gay ghetto, and maybe get a job, or interact with my family, whatever it might be. And so they start to realize, I can function within the gay community and outside of the gay community equally. And that kind of gets them to the most healthy level of awareness, which is synergetic articulation and awareness, which just allows them to, function with the femmes or the butches or with the straights and, whoever else. And I see a lot of blindness to, a lot of people who may be, suffering within, kind of this lack of awareness about where they're at or where their friend may be at. And we tend to poke a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun. Well, but I think that we should bring them in a little closer.
I'm right there with you, and I think I know a little of the reason why you brought that up, because we talked about something. I was like, it's a bad idea, Travis. But anyway, let me
I want to know what the
before
idea is.
I want to know what the idea is.
He's already popping these things. He's like, I know why.
But before
Such
I
a
do,
tease.
what I'm getting from what you're saying is, like, for example, there was this 22-year-old that I knew, and I thought, okay, in a way, I want to introduce him to what's going on here in Dallas and the community, and sort of, because someone had told me a while back, the older, not old, generation needs to sort of embrace these younger kids that are coming into the gay world and sort of teach them the ropes, and just instead of wanting to just pounce on them,
Mentor.
teaching them. Well, I tried. And these
But you
kids,
ended up pouncing on him anyway.
Right. No. These kids.
That's more to the point, really, isn't it?
No. They are hard-headed, and they already know everything, and they make it so difficult. So.
But doesn't any young person from any
Right.
generation or any
Thank
culture?
It's parenting.
Thank you.
But I think to your point that you were saying earlier that there's such dissonance, I think every cultural group kind of has that. Every
Absolutely.
minority has that. And I think
Absolutely.
as we grow as a minority, I think we have to learn to get over that. It's a long process, I think.
It is a long process. It really starts, in childhood when we start to realize, that we're different from the outer group. And that's when we either begin, our conformity stage or just outright denial. So you have these people who are stuck in that conformity or denial stage. They're the people who are, in the closet, and, maybe they, go online and they hook up or whatever. And, a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, we should out them. And, this is the way to progress them. And it's really not. It's counterproductive. And the same way where, you have, straight acting gays or whatever that, belittle or demean, more feminine gays or people who are, a little bit more adoptive of, a counterculture mentality or demeanor or behavior. It's totally counterproductive to us as a people. And I think until we realize that, each one of us is probably in one of our stages or falls back and forth between some of these stages, depending on how we're relating to, being gay, being, living in this society, that passes amendments against us getting married, that we all have a reaction to it. And instead of, turning on each other, we should really take the time to take a deep breath and go, You know what? There's a lot more differences between us as a people than there are, I mean, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences.
Well,
And
if we spent more time taking care of each other,
Absolutely.
and not just the gay community, it's the community at large. I mean, the one thing that I'm hearing you saying, and the one thing that I see in society is that, what happened to when we used to take care of each other? What happened when we used to know our neighbors?
Absolutely.
And when something happened, you went and took food to them, or something like that. I mean, people just don't do that anymore.
well,
I think you're right, and I think it's a direct result from like the whole 70s, 80s, the whole me, the whole how do you feel? It's all about you
We've
and,
gotten
and
spoiled.
self-love, and and I think that's a bunch of crap. Self-love to me is when I die and I'm lying in my deathbed going, did I love myself enough? Who gives a shit? How many people did I love, and who's here to love me
Right.
when I go? That's what's important.
Well,
And
see,
what kind of a
we've totally-
legacy are you leaving?
We totally lost that the whole 70s
But
and 80s.
see, on the other side of that, there was this one guy that I knew, and he has a girlfriend. He had just moved here from Amarillo, and he's gay. He was in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat or whatever it is. He was the lead in that. Hello, how much gayer can
I was
you
going
be?
to say, hello,
Yeah,
and he didn't know?
but he doesn't know he's gay. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to be his friend and blah blah blah. Well, all I got out of him was total manipulation and mind games and all of these things that I thought, I can't do this anymore. Did it for about 8, 9 months trying to be his friend, and all I got was just nothing but negative, bad, horrible things, and it was too much energy for me to handle. So I said, don't contact me anymore.
Well, and I'm sure you haven't.
So what do we do
That's
in
not
that
just
case?
indicative of the gay community. I mean, I have plenty of straight people who, are a total energy drain, in my friendships, and unfortunately, I've had to stop some of those friendships. I'm sure we all have, but I mean, do you think that that's because he was from Amarillo, or because
it sounds
he
to me
was gay, or what? I mean,
I bet it was because he was comfortable with you. And the one thing that I've learned raising kids is that the person that they love the most is the one that they're going to beat up the worst.
Absolutely.
And so you were the only person that he was safe. All that self-hatred he had for himself, he's got this girlfriend and he's dealing with these emotions, and all of a sudden you're this person going, I want to help you, I want to be your friend. And he's like, okay, it's safe for me to be myself. Well, everybody's self isn't really pretty always.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, what do you do? Well, I mean, sometimes you just have to say, look, I'm not up for this.
Exactly.
That's
well,
not what you signed up for.
Exactly.
And
Well,
see, knowing like these different stages of awareness can actually help in situations like that. So when you realize that somebody is, probably in the closet if they have a girlfriend, but they're hitting on you, you might take that with a grain of salt and understand, hey, this person may not be functioning as far as their self-awareness as I am, as comfortable gay man who's out with a television show talking about gay issues,
Right.
and may have some trouble actually relating. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people suppress so much of that emotion, and it eats them inside, like you're saying, and the self-hatred. I mean, we've all been there, probably.
Right, but going with what you're saying
you
is
have to understand that and almost treat them with kid gloves. I mean, I don't know how you would do it personally, but just having that awareness of, look, he's in a completely different spot than me. I may not be able to take him arm in arm to the premiere of my movie without, getting some flack.
Right. I know what you're saying, but see, along those same lines, what like what you're saying is, like the different categories in this gay community, and then us coming together a little more. What we're talking about, I know for a fact that if I have a circuit boy, big and buff, and all he wants to do is talk about this coming year, how he's going to go to the purple party in this city, and then white party in Florida, and then this green party in San Francisco. I don't care. I don't want to do drugs with them every weekend. I don't want to be their friend.
Well, and see, that's another. I mean,
am I wrong for saying
you're
that?
not wrong for having your own opinion.
No, not at all.
But
I mean, how are we?
again,
How
Everybody
can
does
I
that in life.
be a
You
friend?
align yourself to people that you're most comfortable with, and you share the same beliefs, and you share the same values, and there's always going to be that, no matter what group, what ethnicity, what religion, whatever. I mean, but I think the commonality that we're missing is just the connection and the understanding. And we have we build up walls. I mean, we grow up learning to build walls and protecting ourselves. And I think in the gay community, it's twicefold. So it's harder to get through that.
So, like, for instance, with the club kid, who obviously is in resistance and immersion, I mean, he's totally immersed himself in the gay culture, rejected the culture at large. Something that you could do, I mean, it's not that you have to immerse yourself back into it if you don't want to. I mean, absolutely, set your boundaries, be firm with that. But if you wanted to, extend a hand to this young gayling who, obviously is,
Oh no, in their
resisting,
40s. They're in their 40s.
Well,
but they think they're 21.
Well, they can
That's
still
all
be a
the
gayling.
circuit guys.
They can totally still be a gayling. But
Exactly.
you know, extend your hand and invite them
Some of
out
us
to
grow older
a straight
gracefully, don't
event.
we?
You know,
I'm
where
not
they're going to
growing-
mix
That's
with
right,
other
wow.
people.
Right.
I went to the
You
share
know,
school with aging.
progress them slowly. You know,
We'll be
I got you.
fine.
I got you.
Right,
Guys,
right.
we will continue this conversation as we come back. I know. Yeah.
Balls are so much fun, that's why I have two, not just one, two great big pink balls. I like to bounce them, roll them, hold them, sometimes I can't control them, my two big pink balls. Last year for my birthday, my mom bought me two pink balls. I love my balls, they're my favorite toy. I play with my balls after school and lunch. Mom says I play with my balls too much. Playing with my balls is something I enjoy. Yesterday at school was show and tell. I brought my two pink balls. When I showed my balls, I made everyone gasp. I showed them every cool trick you can do with balls. I juggled them, spun them, bounced them off the wall. The teacher gave me an F. He said, we don't play with our balls in class. Balls are so much fun. That's why I have two, not just one, two great big pink balls. I like to bounce them, roll them, hold them. Sometimes I can't control them. My two big pink balls.
Hi guys, welcome back to the 10%. Let's go ahead and just finish what we're talking about here. So, you know, I'm all about hearing some suggestions on how to bridge that gap between all of these categories in the gay community. I mean, what?
My suggestion would just be when you see somebody who's obviously either resisting the gay community or, you know, irrationally, or in the gay community so immersed that they've lost touch with the community at large, you know, you don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to date them. But if you have that kind of charitable spirit, which you obviously have, just extend them an invitation. I mean, just the fact that they get invited to, let's say, a movie premiere where they might mingle with other straight people or other cultures or whatever, it's that type of interaction that I think that we need. It's a little bit more friendly and inclusive instead of saying, you're a club kid, no, or, you know, you're a little closet Mo, no, you know, it's, let's have a little bit of compassion,
You know, it's
a little bit of charity.
It really gets back to respect. You know, I mean, it's really, you know,
Absolutely.
we can sit here and disagree about politics all day long, but I respect his point of view, and I'm glad that he has it, and I respect his point of view about marriage, and I'm glad that we live in a country where we can disagree about these things. But, you know, and as people, you know, we just have to respect each other. We just have to say, we don't have to agree, but we respect where you're coming from, and you're valuable as a person. You know, I mean, we really get away from that. And then, you know, the other thing that I've learned over time is that so much more can be done for people when they just see you being you. You know, I think that I have influenced more people just by being me, the person that I am, and being true to myself. I'm not perfect. I'm so far from perfect.
Yes, you are.
Well, maybe just a little. Yeah. No, but I mean, I'm so not perfect. But, you know, I try to be really, really true to myself. And I know that there are people that are drawn to that, and I know that people have learned from that. And so, you know, sometimes it's just being, I mean, Israel, you have so much to offer people. I mean, just be true to yourself. Just be you, and let them, you know, let them see that, and let that be a guide. You know, because people are going to take from us what they want to take.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna look at
If
us
you
and
let
they're gonna say, you know, I'm gonna take the good stuff, and the stuff that I don't like so much, whether it's good or not, I'm not gonna take. So, you know, if we can just offer that, if we can just offer that to them freely and say, hey, I'm me, you know, and hang out with me, you know, let's go do something together. What do we have in common that we can share? You know, and
Or
in
tell
a
me about
way,
But you know what? There's
yeah.
an art and the balance between being inclusive and submerging yourself in their life and their problems. And you'd have to find that balance into, this is the amount of help that I can give you, and I know you might need more, but that's up to you. You know, you have to learn where that balance is and saying, I can give you this much, but the rest is up to you.
You're so giving, Israel.
You give too much.
I try.
But what you give is always good.
Thank you.
Giving us the best that he's got.
It's a little steamy over here.
Is the heat on?
right.
So I know that you took the other guest, but I almost said her name. So I forgot what your topic was.
You know, I was actually going to talk about, and this actually kind of goes in with what we've been talking about within the gay community, the different segments of the community and how we're not always respectful of each other and we don't always work together, and we need to do better about that. You know, it was really shocking to me that we lost in California, that, you know, Prop 8, you know, that happened. I mean, that was just shocking. And so literally what we've seen is we get an African-American president. This is huge for our country, but it's a big step back. California, Arizona, and Florida all vote to amend their constitutions to bring discrimination into the Constitution, to discriminate against lesbian and gay people. And more importantly, 70% of the African-American community voted in favor of writing discrimination into these constitutions. And so for me, you know, we also have to look at what we're not doing as minorities. You know, we are a sexual minority, gay and lesbian people, and so a lot of people don't get it. They don't think that we're a minority.
Well, they don't think that the sex part qualifies us as a minority, but you know, I think it's even more, and I agree with you, but it's a cultural minority. I mean, and it's cultural because we're not accepted by the group that is calling us not a cultural minority, which is almost a complete oxymoronic in and of how it develops. Because if they didn't see the distinction between gay and straight, now it's just two people, you know, who are, you know, naturally having a relationship, then we wouldn't have to even be talking about it, but they do. And, you know, with the African Americans being 70% voting, you know, for Prop 8 in California, it just goes to show that, you know, in-group, out-group thinking is always going to be there. And when you have, you know, any type of a group and they perceive somebody as being outside of their group, which, you know, of course we know that, you know, being gay is the whole rainbow of the race and everything else, but you don't see that a lot.
Well,
and
we
that's
have
to
to
your
do
point,
it.
is the visibility within those subgroups that are the subgroup of the subgroup.
I think it's important
gets
for us to
dizzy.
have these discussions because it's important for us to see these problems. I mean, to me, that's a huge problem. That this is a group of people who have had enormous struggles, and finally at this finest moment, you know, this beautiful thing that has happened that has made them so proud. All of a sudden, and they're voting to discriminate against another group. But two, also, you know, I said earlier I was a big Hillary fan, and a lot of people that I know that were Hispanic, when Hillary lost, they said, we're not going to vote for Obama because there's this tension between the Hispanic population and the African American population. I was like, how can, as minorities, we discriminate against each other? It's like, how can we do that?
The
You know what I
complete
mean?
lunacy of the entire concept of race, because, you know, actually being gay, I think, is more tangible than somebody's skin color or, you know, something like this, because there is no biological difference between me and my Hispanic friend Israel Luna. You know, I mean, if he were a woman, we could actually like have children, but you know, our genetics are so much similar. And it doesn't, I mean, the whole idea of race is just a figment of human imagination. And so it's like you're creating this artificial label that we label people, and we think that that's something really real. It's tangible. You're black, you're Hispanic, you're Oriental. When in actuality, it's completely meaningless except for the meaning that we give to it. Whereas, you know, our actual partners, you know, the fact that, you know, we love somebody with different plumbing than, you know, half the other or the rest of the population, the 90% of the population,
Right.
Is actually something that's really real. And actually, when you take a look at the genetics, there's actually a genetic basis for the sexuality that we have. I mean, there's both nature and nurture on that side of the argument, but there's definitely more of a genetic, you know, argument for being gay than there is for race, because there's zero argument for genetic or anything other than just pure fantasy and discrimination that the human mind can create for race. And until we all realize that, you know, it's going to be hard for, you know, people of, you know, African American, and, you know, when they don't see their own group being fully embraced as, you know, equal humans, and the whole concept of race still exists, it's going to be really hard for them to, you know, accept that even this other subgroup that's not accepted by the macro group might be accepted by us.
So how do we solve this problem? I mean, this is to me this is probably going forward one of the greatest issues that is going to face people of our generation.
Well, as gay people, we can only be consistent, I think, in our behavior towards each other.
Exactly.
And as, straight people in the culture at large see that, as we function as more of a cohesive group, a more loving group, a more inclusive, accepting group, it's a lot easier for them to say, oh, yeah, you know what, they're not so different from me.
Yeah,
I
and
like
I think,
your people.
and I think every time we have something like this, and something that we vote on, every time it's in the media, and every time people see it and they're voting on it, every time it's making us more a part of
More aware.
life, more aware, and they're like, oh, that's no big deal. Just like blacks and slaves and everything. Now, today, we're like, oh, God, it was the stupidest thing we could have ever done, Hopefully they see it that way. And now, we have a black president. So, I think we're heading in the right direction.
Absolutely.
I think we just need to keep going.
And a new day, I think is here. We have a new spirit, a new energy in the country, and
Yeah.
I'm jazzed about it. I don't know about everybody else. I mean, I know that it's kind of sad for you, but on the whole scale of it, I mean, I hope that you can appreciate, that fact that, as a country we have progressed, and just because your guy didn't win, maybe you'll support Obama.
and I think the whole Proposition 8 thing, I think it was just, it wasn't like by a landslide or anything. It was really close.
No, yeah.
It was, and
that's saying
politically
something.
speaking, in the next
Well, they did
election,
spend $1 bazillion. I
We
mean,
can
the
have
Mormons
those-
went nuts.
I know it was.
Oh my
the
God, they
Mormons,
spent
wasn't
like
it?
$100 bazillion.
Oh,
for
It's
it
like,
against it.
oh, they were
for.
for it. They were for
For.
it. Yeah, the Mormons were like.
Mormons are the ones that
because
are
you would think
keeping
that the
us-
Mormons would have more interest in legalizing gay marriage, because then that kind of is the whole slippery slope to
Right. You
polygamy.
can like do all the
Exactly.
Mormons
I
as a
mean-
religion do not like gays.
They do not like
No.
gays,
Well,
and they have
that's just
such
sad for them, because
hot
if we teamed
guys
up
that
with the
were-
Mormons,
I was about to
No,
say.
they
probably get some
I was about to say,
stuff.
and what's
We'll be right
that
back with
about?
closing of the
Yeah,
show.
what's that about?
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So anti-gay. What was that movie?
Words can be a powerful weapon, so please, choose them carefully, because what you say matters. When you tell a homophobic joke or use an anti-gay slur, you're spreading prejudice.
And you could be hurting someone close to you without even realizing it.
These words send a message that it's okay to hate and to discriminate.
You have the power to make a difference just by treating people with dignity and respect.
Choose to be an ally and a friend.
To find out how, go to glad.org.
That's GLAAD.org.
Happy ending?
Hi guys. Yeah, this is the happy ending of the show. Let's go ahead and get final thoughts from everyone. Guys, go. Any last anythings?
My final thoughts, just everybody who sees this, just realize that we're all one people. I mean, whether we're gay, black, white, whatever, we're one people, and it's a hell of a lot easier to love people than it is to hate people in the long run. It may not seem like it, but whether it's the gay who is annoying you because it's a queen, or the gay who's annoying you because they're in the closet, or the person down the street because he plays a music that you don't like. It's just it's a lot easier to just say, okay, I'll just ignore it or whatever, or get to know that person than it is to hate, because it just eats you inside.
Well, the best way to do that is to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten so spread out. Now it's okay for us to live in Plano, and it's okay for us to live in Carrollton, and not everybody's living in the neighborhood anymore. So maybe every once in a while, people should venture down and join an organization that you can give your time to, and so you can meet your fellow gay and lesbian people, and also so that the young people that are coming in can have the benefit of some of us who've been around for a little while, and we can mentor them. We can we can be big brothers and big sisters to them, and show them some of the things that we've learned throughout the years.
Big gay brothers and big
Bill?
gay sisters.
You know
Yeah.
what? The more vocal
Like
you
that.
are, the more people are going to hear you, and the more they hear you, the longer it's going to stick. So I think that's just no matter what your belief is, no matter what your thoughts are, just voice them.
Well, and be
Excellent.
true to yourself.
True.
Exactly.
And no taxation without adequation. The
Exactly.
Texas Tea Party
Absolutely,
starts
that's
here,
right.
darn
That's
it.
No
right.
taxation, period.
That's
You can go
right.
to La Luna Entertainment for more information and click on the 10%. Or if you have any questions or comments or just anything that you would like to tell us, you can email us at the 10% at yahoogroups.com. That is the number 10% at yahoogroups.com. Thank you for watching, guys. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, that was cool.